Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's math lesson in our fraction mini unit review. Today, we are going to continue what we started yesterday about working on finding fractions and plotting fractions on the number line, but we're going to kick it up a little bit, and we're going to be focusing on fractions on a number line that are greater than one whole. So not just doing fractions from 0 to 1, but maybe a number line goes from 0 to 2 or 1 to 3. And figuring out how do we find those fractions. So with that being said, our I can statement for today. I can plot fractions greater than one whole on a number line. Before we jump into our math lesson, let's kick it off with some fluency. And we did this on Tuesday, so we're going to go back to it. Let's do some rounding review. So go ahead, grab a piece of paper, a pen, a pencil, a crayon, whatever, and let's go through these. Let's first round to the nearest 100. To the nearest 100. I'm going to give you guys 3 different numbers. Let's set up first. All right, here we go. Our first number, 376. If I'm rounding to the nearest 100, that means I'm going to underline my hundreds place. Go next door. I see a 7 next door, so that tells me that the 3 rounds up. So the 3 is going to round to a 4, 400. Next one, 998. Underline my hundreds place. Look next door. This 9 tells me again to round up, so my 9 is really going to become a 10, which is 1,000. So it's going to round to 0, 1,000. Last one, 1,316. Remember, don't get tricked. We're still looking for the hundreds place. So I know my hundreds place is right here. Go next door. My 1 tells me to let it rest. Stays as a 3. So 1,300. Great job. Let's quickly do a couple rounding to the nearest 10. Rounding to the nearest 10. I'm going to give you guys 2 this time. Let's do 772 and 1,798. All right, here we go. Rounding to the nearest 10. Let's first underline our tens digit. Go next door. What does that 2 tell me to do? Let it rest. So the 7 is going to rest, stay at a 7. So 770. Then my next one, 1,798. I'm looking at my tens. I go next door. This 8 tells me to raise the score. So that means my 9 would actually bump up to a 10, but I can't have a 10 in the tens place. So that means this 9 is going to become a 0, and the hundreds place is going to become an 8. So it would round to 1,800. That one is a little bit of a tricky one. I just wanted to see how we would do. Let's go ahead and jump into our lesson for today. As I mentioned, we're going to be looking at fractions on a number line where the whole may be greater than 1. The biggest thing for us to remember whenever we see a number line is to determine the information that we already have. So for example, if I'm given a number line like this, and I'm told to mark fractions in thirds, the first thing I notice is that what does my number line start and end at? Well, I can see my number line starts at 0 and ends at 2, but I'm missing something. What is in between 0 and 2? 1. So I need to fill in my missing number, 1. So now I have 0, 1, and 2. If I'm partitioning into thirds, that means I need to partition each whole into thirds. If I need thirds, that means how many lines do I draw? 1 less, 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Then I can go ahead and label my fractions. This one's easy because I can just start at 0. So 0 thirds, 1 third. My cat may jump into the camera. 2 thirds, 3 thirds, 4 thirds, 5 thirds, 6 thirds. And notice how when I got to a whole, I didn't stop counting on. I just kept going. And then if you remember, something we always did in class was we would box our whole numbers. So we should box 0, which is 0 thirds, 1, which is 3 thirds, 2, which is 6 thirds. With that in mind, let's look at some of these practice ones on my anchor chart behind me. And just like I've been doing, I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer so you guys may not see me as well, because I really want you guys to be able to see these number lines. So let's look at number one. Number one tells us to partition into halves. So let's look at our number line. Again, we have 0 to 2 and something missing. What's missing between 0 and 2? Hopefully you're thinking 1. Now I need to partition each whole into halves. So 1 line, 1 line. Now I can write my fractions if I know my denominator is 2 for halves. So 0 halves, 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. And I'm going to go ahead and box my whole numbers, just like that. Now let's look at number 2, says thirds. Again, before I can do anything, let's look at my number line. 0 to 2 again, which means I'm missing 1. Now I'm going to partition each whole into thirds by drawing 2 lines. 1, 2, 1, 2. And now I can write my fractions. 0 thirds, 1 third, 2 thirds, 3 thirds, 4 thirds, 5 thirds, 6 thirds. And I can go ahead and box whole numbers. Now let's look at our last one. This time it says fifths, but notice our number line is a little bit different. It's from 0 to 3. So I need to fill in those missing numbers, 1 and 2. Now, if I want fifths in between each whole number, that means I need to draw 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's gonna take a little bit longer, but let's start at 0. 0 fifth, 1 fifth, 2 fifths, 3 fifths, 4 fifths, 5 fifths, 6 fifths, 7 fifths, 8 fifths, 9 fifths, 10 fifths, 11 fifths, 12 fifths, 13 fifths, 14 fifths, 15 fifths. And then again, I'm going to box those whole numbers. Now, your classwork today is going to be very simple, or excuse me, very similar to some of the practice problems we just did. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what that looks like so we can go through it real quick. So here is your classwork for today. It looks like this. It's actually only 2 problems today. So again, same thing we've always said. If you do not have a printer at home, that's fine. Just write on your paper, piece of paper, number 1 and number 2. Now, number 1 says, locate and label the following fractions on the number line. You need to draw a number line from 0 to 3, fill in 1 and 2. And your denominator is 6, which means you need to draw 5 lines to partition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then label your fractions. Then number 2, same thing, locate and label the following fractions on the number line. This number line goes from 1 to 4, and then you're partitioning it into fourths because of our denominator, so 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now notice, this one does not start at 0, so we have to think how many fourths is equal to 1 whole. Hopefully we're thinking we know 4 fourths makes a whole. So your first fraction here at 1 would be 4 fourths, and then you would count on. Those are your only 2 questions for your classwork today. If you guys have any trouble or get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Have a good day. Can't wait to see your work. Bye.